Thank you. I apologize. We were in a closed session, so apologize for being a few minutes late. I'd like to call to order this regular city council meeting of November 17th, 2025. And anybody that's able, please stand and join me for the pledge. Madam Clerk, may we have the roll call, please?
Law.
Present.
Obolinski.
Here.
Shess.
Here.
Sakach.
Here.
Nowak.
Here.
Thank you.
As I mentioned before, we did have a closed session, but there is nothing to report out from that session. Item 5 is presentations. We're going to have a presentation from the National University School of Psychology and Social Service and School of Law. And I'd like to invite up Dean Lisa Hutton from the College of Law and Public Service and Dean Alvin McLean from the School of Psychology and Social Sciences to provide a presentation. And let me apologize for missing your event the other day, but I was unable to attend. And glad I could see you here today and hear your presentation.
You were well represented.
Yes.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. I'm
yeah.
sure I was.
So first off, thank you so much, the City Council, for letting us speak with you tonight about the new and improved, I would say, John F. Kennedy University. I'm Lisa Hutton. I'm the Dean of the College of Law and Public Service at National University, and joined by Dr. Alvin McLean, who's the Dean of the JFK School of Psychology and Behavioral Sciences. We also both serve as regional VPs for Northern California and NU. So you'll see here that, JFK was right down the street for a long, long time and thought we'd probably want to talk a little bit about the history real quick. So founded in 1965, JFK was founded, and we offered, of course, degrees and certificates to what we call non-traditional students, basically working adult students, where traditional education just didn't work, a traditional model. Served this community for 55 years in several key disciplinary areas, most notably, however, in psychology and in law. Thousands of our alumni are practitioners and clinicians all over the Bay Area, and certainly in Contra Costa County. For history, in 2020, JFK closed its doors. You might remember, I certainly do. And the School of Psychology became part of National University, where the School of Law became part of a sister institution called North Central University. In 2022, the Board of Trustees determined to dissolve the entire system and to bring National, North Central, and therefore JFK into one large nonprofit institution with the surviving name of National University. So what the heck is National University? National was founded in 1971 by an ex-Navy captain, Dr. David Chigos, who at the time was a professor at UC San Diego, professor at a lot of other higher institutions of higher ed. And what he noted was a lot of service members were coming back from Vietnam and wanted to use their GI Bill for college. Only they led complicated lives. They were parents, they were working, they had to be called to service at a moment's notice and all of the things, and traditional education didn't work. The 8 to 5, Monday through Friday on a physical campus or whatnot just did not work for this group of students. And Dr. Chigos thought there has to be some model to serve this population. And with that, this idea of National University was born. Bam! 55 years later, right, 54 to be, if I'm going to keep me honest. We have 250,000 alumni in 50 countries, 50 states and 20 different countries. Some of those alumni, of course, are right here from John F. Kennedy University. We serve currently 50,000 degree-seeking students. And of that 50, about 2,000 come from right here, right in this area. Plus another 80,000 in workforce and professional development. The 50,000 degree-seeking students, about a third are bachelor, about a third are master's, and about a third are doctoral. And we do that through our 6 colleges right up there. We have the Sanford College of Education. The Sanford College of Education is the largest teaching college in the state of California. We award more teaching credentials than any other institution in the state. The JFK School of Psychology and Social Sciences, which you'll hear about tonight, the School of Arts, Letters, and Sciences, School of Health Professions, College of Business, Technology, and Engineering, and of course, the best one, the College of Law and Public Service. The College of Law and Public Service is important because it has two schools. The School of Public Service, which is dedicated to public servants. A lot going on there with criminal justice, homeland security, public administration, and great degrees like that. But my favorite, the School of Law, which is the JFK School of Law. And that is where that is housed. And I'm so pleased to say that the Juris Doctor program is thriving. We now not only serve this area, but of course can serve all of California and even students from other states. Bar pass rate is at a hearty 60%. I'm very pleased with that because we still serve the non-traditional working adult and military student. And we still emphasize the role of community service. Not one student walks across that stage without doing legal work in their community. And that's mostly what I'm excited about as we come back to where we began to partner with Pleasant Hill, Contra Costa, and determine what this community needs from us. So thank you again for your time. I'm going to hand this over to Dr. McLean.
I will have to differ with my colleague. Absolutely, the best school is JFK School of Psychology and Social Sciences. And just a little bit about our school. It has approximately 6,000 students in our school, serving from 43 different states. We still are your neighbors. We're right down the street still. It's the largest private nonprofit university graduating students with the PsyD program. Our PsyD program now has a 10-year accreditation from the APA, which is the highest accreditation that you can receive. The second largest graduating students with doctorates in clinical psychology, third largest in the U.S. graduating students with the MS in psychology that's online. 61% of our students are in the counseling psychology program, ranks first among universities nationwide for the number of master's degrees in psychology. But what's most valuable to me is the fact that our students across the country provide approximately 320,000 hours of clinical work to communities all over the United States. And we focus primarily on providing services to those individuals who are from underserved communities where the need is greatest. We are all aware of the significant concerns and needs of behavioral health in our country. And we are trying to address that as expeditiously as we can. At the school, the key components of the school are our community involvement in the clinical work that we do. We have 5 different types of clinical activities that we're doing in communities around California. 3 of them are right here in the Pleasant Hill area. We have the Michael G. Harris Community Counseling Program, which serves the Pleasant Hill elementary schools for the most part, and the Los Madonnas Community College. We're very, very proud of that program. It's been around for several years and will continue. We have the psychological assessment clinic. One of the things that's really critical in psychology is that oftentimes you need a psychological or comprehensive psychological assessment for many reasons. We have many students come in because they need those in order to get special attention within the school districts. We provide psychological assessments at a very much a sliding scale. And then, of course, we have the NU Counseling Center, which you so graciously cut the ribbon on 3 weeks ago, and we're beginning to serve folks right in our building on Ellenwood Way. In addition to the 3 programs we have in Northern California, we have a couple of programs that we operate in Southern California called the Unlosses Community Counseling Center, and we are working with the County of San Diego to try to increase the number of behavioral health specialists that will continue to work in the county. But most importantly, we really are here to ask you, how can we partner with you? We love being as a part of the Pleasant Hill community. We have been here for years, and we just want to say that we are back in full force and want to know how best we can partner with you. Thank you very much for allowing us this opportunity. We'll entertain questions if there are any.
Thank you. And, I have to say, the community counseling program in the schools, my son went through the elementary school, middle school, high school program here, was so helpful to the schools. It was really appreciated. And for those of you out there that are not aware, Michael G. Harris was a former council member, former mayor, who that program is named after. So just want to say what a great job you guys have always done. And
Thank you.
this community has really benefited from that program. So thank you.
Thank you kindly.
Comments, questions? Councilmember Sakach.
Thank you for all the great work you do in the community. I teach an adult education, which also serves non-traditional students at all times of day. My question was, are some of your classes online or hybrid? Are they all in person, or do you have a mix?
In our school, we have courses that are online, and we have some hybrid. And on this campus here in Pleasant Hill, it's all on the ground. That's the doctoral program in clinical psychology.
Anything else?
We also have some materials here for anyone who's interested in information regarding the counseling center or the psychological assessment
Oh,
clinic.
wonderful. Okay. If you can leave them on the dais.
They
They're
are-
already there. Okay,
Okay.
way ahead of me. Okay. Councilmember Blah?
Thank you so much for this
Oh,
time.
I think we have one more
Oh, yeah.
question.
Oh, no, just a comment. Thank you so much for being in the community for so long, and also now recently opening the Michael is G. Harris?
Yes.
Michael G. Harris.
Michael G. Harris Community Counseling Center. I had the opportunity to go to the ribbon cutting
Thank you for
as well
being
as
there.
my other colleagues that were here as well. And knowing that there is an opportunity for our community to actually utilize and tap into those services, I think is really important for mental health and well-being. And so thank you for being here and sharing this information with our community so that they do know that there's opportunity to go to the counseling center. Because what I've been hearing from our community is that there isn't a lot of mental health services that are available, especially on a sliding scale, or there's challenges for them to get appointments with their existing care or primary care person, or even trying to find mental health services that would suit their needs.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Please.
Okay, we've got one more person to chime in.
One more. You're right there. How can we partner with you? I don't know if I'll give you some general ways. I
Okay.
think with working with our staff, and, our city has myriad commissions that have to do with, civic action, and and there's, cultural events. We have a commission on aging. I mean, we have commissions here and organizations within the city umbrella that probably could at some point, would benefit from the type of expertise that you guys provide. So I encourage you, and the city staff, I would encourage them too, to think about, think about like, well, how could, we use your expertise with mental health now being, forefront, so much more in the forefront now. That's how I think how we could partner together. Those kinds of things going forward. Can't think of anything like super specific, but I think that would be a good start.
We would love that opportunity.
Great.
And
Thank you so
Commission
very
on,
much.
Commission on Education too.
And
So,
education.
yep,
Thank
yep.
you.
Okay. All right. Thank you again.
Thank you both.
Thanks for
Appreciate it.
supporting our veterans.
We'll move on to item 6, which is the city manager comments, and I'll invite Ethan Bindernagel to provide us his comments.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor Nowak and Council. Good evening, and members of the public. I actually have several announcements this evening. I'll start off with a reminder, obviously, with the holiday season approaching, the Pleasant Hill Police Department will be out in greater numbers looking for impaired drivers and enforcing impaired driving laws. Chief Vermillion and his staff want to remind everyone to be responsible when consuming alcohol. Please know your limits. Use rideshare apps, call a friend or a taxi. And if you're with family or a group of friends, please plan ahead and designate a sober driver. So a good reminder from Chief Vermillion. Also a friendly reminder that this Saturday night from 4:30 to 7:30 p.m., the city will kick off the holiday season with our annual Light Up the Night Festival. You can come join the fun and ride the holiday train, perhaps enjoy fabulous performances or visit craft booths. You can help light the Christmas tree. And of course, everyone is always welcome to stop by and visit with jolly old St. Nick For more information, you can visit the city's website, www.phillca.gov. With many in our county facing food insecurity, the city is partnering with our friends at the Food Bank of Contra Costa and Solano to hold a digital drive during the month of November. We're about halfway through at present. To donate, you can visit the city website, www.phillca.gov/food drive. And for those in need, the food bank does have a compiled list of resources, including a food resource map that can be found on the Food Bank's website at www.foodbankccs.org. The Civic Action Commission, I'm happy to report, has closed the application period for performers wanting to be part of the 2026 Summer Concert Series. The Music Selection Committee is reviewing 166 applications and will be announcing the performance schedule in December. I'm looking to Jeff to see if that's some kind of record. I don't know. That sounds like it is. Yes, that's a big number. So good luck to all of them on the committee. And also a reminder that with the rainy season getting underway, I want to remind you that the city's 3 sandbag stations are now open and available. You can find them here at City Hall. You can find one near the community center, of course, and as always, across the street from Pleasant Oaks Park. And lastly, there's always something going on here in Pleasant Hill, from events to workshops to community meetings all throughout the year and all over town. And there are many ways to learn more about all of them. You can follow the City of Pleasant Hill on X, Facebook, Instagram, or Nextdoor. Or if social media is not quite your forte, you can sign up to receive the city's biweekly email blast. You can visit the city's website, www.phillca.gov/update to sign up. And of course, every other month, we have the Outlook newsletter, which is mailed to every address in Pleasant Hill. It's also available at the Pleasant Hill Library, also across the street at the Senior Center and here at City Hall. And you can also find a digital copy on the city's website. Say it with me now, www.phillca.gov/outlook. That concludes my comments. Happy to yield to questions.
Any questions from council members? No? Okay, thank you. Hopefully we'll see everybody at Light Up the Night on Saturday. And we'll keep our fingers crossed for no rain. Moving on to item 7, council announcements and reports. 7.1, reports from council members on meetings or conference attended at city expense. The Contra Costa Mayor's Conference was hosted by the town of Danville on November 6th, and I thank Vice Mayor Chess for filling in for me as I was out of town. Would you like to report on that?
Sure. Yeah. So we listened to a presentation from Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. And so what is the Dolly Parton's Imagination Library? It is a book gifting program for children from literally from birth to the age of 5 when they go to kindergarten. It's a pretty massive program, not just in the United States, but I believe in the UK as well as Australia and a couple other countries. But apparently, I was blown away when I heard this. Apparently 1 in 7 children from newborn to 5 receives a book from the Dolly Parton Imagination Library. It's a weekly gifting service where they get something in the mail, and families often get real excited about it, and it's an opportunity to get a new book and read it with their child. And so they came to the Contra Costa Mayor's Conference in Danville. It's basically, they want to get involved with our county. Contra Costa County is not involved in the Imagination Library, and so they're looking to work with not only the respective city governments, but also the county to see if they can, seed them some grant money in order to maybe start that program up. So hopefully more to come on that, but that was the presentation that evening.
Anybody else want to comment on that? No, but I think all the rest of you went, so thank you. Any other meetings attended at city expense by anyone? No? Okay, we'll go on to announcements from council members. Usually I start at the end. I'll start at the middle this time. Councilmember Obolinski.
Okay, so thank you, Mayor Nowak. So I'm not sure if you noticed, Ethan talked about this last time. There were new Veterans Day banners that were put out throughout Contra Costa Boulevard, and it's also thanks to Vestar for extending that into Crescent Drive. And, we're looking to know who our veterans are in the city. So as your veterans representative of council, I did serve in the Army National Guard. Please help us compile a list of current veterans you know or no longer with us. You can email me, you can email the city. We'd like to know who our veterans are. We've reached out to the different veterans organizations for lists, but the more we know, the better we can help notify you of future events. I look forward to working with my colleagues, along with Congressman DeSaulnier and Ken Carlson, to have an event next year and moving forward at the monument. It's important we recognize our veterans, those on active duty, and their families. I also had a great town hall with constituents in District 2 last week. I have a new newsletter coming out soon, so email me if you want to be on the list for future events and to be on our mailing list for different fun things and actionable items that are happening in the city. As Ethan talked about, we have Light Up the Night. And I want to say hello to my wife, who's currently at a rehearsal right now with my children that she's been choreography. She did the choreography on for the Theater Skaska. They'll be performing at the Light Up the Night performance. They've been practicing for the past 6 months. So special thanks to those kiddos and the folks that are doing that. And I hope to see you there as I announce them. So it's going to be a fun time this Saturday. Thank you.
Councilmember Lowe?
That sounds really fun for Light Up the Night. I'm excited about it. I attended the last night market of the season and participated in the night ride with Walk and Row Contra Costa. They had a small bike course there and kids to ride their bikes. And our family had a lot of fun because it was really guided bike ride. So we all felt really safe. We came together as a community, as well as they handed out like the little bike lights. They've handed out also glow lights as well. So the kids were really happy about that. By the time we got to the night market, there were illumination lights there as well. And so everyone who actually didn't know about the night market that was driving by stopped by and was just like, oh, what is this? What's happening here? There's a night market. So the night market ended on November 7th for this season, but we'll start up again in May. So if you missed it this season, please come by. It's right by Chilpancingo Park across from DVC at Floor and Decor. Aside from that, I want to wish everyone an early happy Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is a really important time in our family. It's actually when my family actually arrived to the United States. They were sponsored by a church. And, it's a reminder of really, what are you thankful for? How do you be thankful? And to be grateful for everything that you have? And how do you support someone when they're in need? And aside from that, I just want to thank staff. I want to thank everyone who is here to support one another, our chief, our police department, as well as council members here who serve the public, even though we have a very challenging job to do for our community. And so I want to thank you all, especially the community, for supporting us and being there and being available. So support one another as much as you can. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Councilmember Sakich.
So I have been on vacation for the past 2 weeks, so I haven't been getting around as much, but did want to report that before I left, I went to the grand opening of NeuroVet, which is a specialty veterinary clinic on Gregory Lane. I also attended Alpha Kappa Alpha, their Omega Epsilon Omega chapter had an event called Beyond the Headlines, a real conversation about our community. And it was a great opportunity to hear community updates from both Supervisor Chanel Scales-Preston and Supervisor Ken Carlson. Topics included transportation improvements, mental health programs, and meeting housing needs. That's it.
Okay. Vice Mayor Suss?
I have nothing to report. Thank you.
Okay. And I have nothing to report either. I was back east for my sister's memorial, so I was not around either. Okay, we'll move on to public comment. The public is welcome at this time to address the City Council on items on the consent calendar or other items not listed on the agenda, but within the council's jurisdiction. Comments are limited to 1 minute per speaker. Okay, thank you. You may provide comment cards to Leon at the dais. And I already have 2 cards here. Let's see, general public comment. Melissa Hagan. Come on up. You might have to turn that on.
Hello,
Yep, oh, it seems to be on.
hello. So you have my card.
Go ahead.
Well, I know the question, I guess, but you have my card. Okay, my question was for the housing element from that meeting in October, there was a whole lot of comments. I went down to the planning department and there was a lot of comments, a lot of emails, letters. My question was, what is the percentage of our community kind of yes, like a strong yes on the whole houses into apartments? And then how many of us are really against it? And then like maybe there's some people that are a little in between, kind of like me. I'm a little in between. And it's probably something, because I asked down there when I was at the planning and she couldn't, the gals, Haley and Shannon didn't know. So maybe you could get back to me.
Okay.
Got my email on the card. Okay.
Thank you. Next one is Aiden Martin. Yeah. Well, actually, we can do 2 minutes. Sorry, Melissa, if you did, I was anticipating a fuller crowd, so that's why I had 1 minute, but you can take 2 if you need. Yeah. You prepared them both?
Prepared both.
Okay.
Always be prepared. Good evening, council members. I'm here tonight to address an important matter of transparency and public access to information. Recently, I submitted a Public Records Act request for email communications between city staff and consultants. These are born electronic records, yet I was informed that providing them would require an 8-cent per page document scanning fee. The City of Pleasant Hill's request for a per-page scanning fee for emails and electronic attachments appears inconsistent with the California Public Records Act. I ask you, does the cost of saving an electronic document change if it is 1 virtual page or 1,000? Emails already exist in digital form, so there are no scanning or per-page copying costs. Under the CPRA, agencies may charge only the direct cost of producing a copy of an electronic record, typically the cost of a disk or a thumb drive. Agencies cannot charge for staff time spent searching, reviewing, or redacting electronic information. Scanning fees apply only when documents exist solely on paper, which is not the case for email. Beyond the statutory requirements, this is fundamentally about maintaining trust and transparency. Per-page fees for electronic emails burden residents and set a troubling precedent. I respectfully ask the council to direct staff to provide electronic records at the true cost of duplication, the storage device alone. Thank you and have a good Thanksgiving.
Thank you. No more general public comments? Okay. We will then move on to the consent calendar. All matters listed under consent calendar are considered by the council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate council discussion of these items unless requested by a council member prior to the time council votes on the motion to adopt. Anybody have any comments or want to pull anything? No? Okay, may I have a motion?
I will move.
Oh, second.
Somebody do a second? Thank you. All right, we have a motion and a second. May we have the roll call vote, please?
Law,
Yes.
Obolinski.
Yes.
Chess.
Yes.
Sockotch.
Yes.
Noack.
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. We'll now move on to the action calendar. First up, 10.1 is adopt an ordinance amending section 14.05.080 of Title 14 of the Pleasant Hill Municipal Code and adopting the 2025 California Fire Code with amendments. We don't have a fire chief here. So it's, oh,
Remote.
I see. Jeff,
Sorry, Mayor Noack.
yes.
Pardon me. There's someone who submitted a public comment card. I thought it was for item 10.4, but they'd like to comment as a general public comment.
Oh, okay, we'll hold off. You're going to speak now? Sure. Oh, I only had 2 cards, so sorry.
All right, no problem. Hello, my name is Dick Offerman and I live in Pleasant Hill. I'm here to ask for the council's help with a preventable public health crisis. We need help getting unleaded aviation fuel into the county's Buchanan field. Years after many other airports offered the widely available unleaded fuel, Buchanan continues to offer only toxic leaded fuel. The propeller planes flying out of Concord release an estimated 2.3 teaspoons of toxic lead dust per hour. In 2016, there were over 122,000 takeoff and landings. That's a lot of lead. Flight schools around Buchanan, based at Buchanan, burn leaded fuel as they do these loops around the airport all day long, every day. What can we do? First, read about San Jose's Reed Hillview Airport's horrible results from a study of the lead levels in children's blood. They absorb lead easily, and it silently causes permanent cognitive damage. Next, contact Supervisors Preston, Scales, and Carlson. They're aware of this health crisis and are working to go unleaded. Urge them to use Community Benefit Award funds to offer incentives to pilots to use unleaded fuel. Next, contact Supervisor John Joya, one of our reps on the board of the Bay Area Air District, and ask him to get blood tests done within 1.5 miles of the end of the runways at Buchanan. In 2021, John and the board petitioned the State Health Department for more blood testing at airports. The Air Board just told us they have lots of money from fines, so hopefully they can test our kids. I believe there are 7,000 students attending school within 1.5 miles of Buchanan. Please work to protect our kids from these lead-spewing flying recreational vehicles. Thank you.
Thank you. I was going to suggest you speak to Supervisor Carlson because
I
I
have
know
talked to
he's been
Carlson,
involved.
yes.
Okay.
I've met with him and I've met with Scales,
Okay.
Preston Scales.
Okay.
And they're working, they've got the tanks, but they've got reluctant pilots who've come to our meetings, the airport commission meetings, and made rude remarks to concerned citizens.
Yep. I
So
just want
we
to make
need
sure
the
you're
incentives
to
push
contact
them.
him. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we'll go back to adopting the ordinance, amending section 1405-080 of Title 14 of the Pleasant Hill Municipal Code and adopting 2025 California Fire Code with amendments. And we have Contra Costa Fire Chief Chris Bachman.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you for accommodating me to attend the meeting virtually. I need to also present to the city of Pittsburgh here in about the next 20 minutes. In person, I was later on their agenda and was afraid if I came in person, I wouldn't be able to hit both. I came last month and provided a update through a first reading. I think there was some concerns about some of the clerical errors that were identified and changed. So here to provide a update and staff report on the fire code and WUI code again. The major changes, clerical changes, were done in the WUI code, but I believe there was just a couple done in the fire code. So I'll go through an overview of those and then answer any questions anybody has. So the fire code is updated every 3 years. The major changes that have been identified in this code is we have identified a new permit requirement for land development, roadway design, water supply, and subdivision projects. We've also identified an operational permit now for a 5-year sprinkler system test in accordance with NFPA 25. We've added some definitions, one of those being temporary fire department access roads, fire trails, substantial additions and alterations. That was actually done in the WUI code. We had that already in the fire code. Hazardous vegetation, Knox box, and area pre-plans. Fire service features have been added, such as access road standards were clarified with minimum road widths. Fire lane signage was expanded by the enforcement of both the fire code and local law enforcement for emergency evacuation routes, if adopted by the local governing body's emergency evacuation plan. So some of our jurisdictions are requesting that we adopt a formal evacuation plan. In order for us to do that, we would have to come back before council, submit a plan, and hold outreach meetings, and then it would be voted for approval if desired. If we do that, the idea is that by putting that language in our fire lane section, it allows us better enforcement and then signage requirements for possible restrictions. Again, if you don't adopt a formal evacuation plan in the city, then this section really has no bearing for that one section that we added. It's really just to provide us that additional enforcement should the city decide to adopt formal evacuation routes and an evacuation plan. Fire protection systems, we lowered the threshold for sprinkler system requirements in a couple of our occupancies. We actually did this to align with the other fire jurisdictions in the county. The goal with some of these changes was to try and get all of our ordinances to line up, that no matter where you're building or doing work in Contra Costa County, the ordinances are the same. So we did lower a couple of our thresholds to match the other fire jurisdictions with some of those sprinkler requirements. On the next page, construction and demolition safety. We expanded site security requirements for fence, guards, cameras, fire watch patrols. Again, this requirement does take agreement with the building officials. So it requires both the building official and the fire official if they feel that additional site security requirements while under construction are necessary. It gives us a formal plan that we could require, along with stronger safety plan amendment authority for the fire and building code officials. Hazardous material facilities are now required to provide a risk assessment if they have bulk storage and transfer facilities. And explosive fireworks. This is another new one. Fireworks that possess are identified that they are prohibited. But the big one is we expanded the definition of responsible party with liability provisions, which include social hosting. So if over the weekend of the 4th of July or any other time throughout the year, fireworks are illegal in Contra Costa County, if it's observed that someone's having a party and they're setting off illegal fireworks, and we show up and document that and record it, depending on if the fire official or the law enforcement officer feels it's safe to approach that party, then they could always go back the next day and we could provide that citation based on social hosting. So it isn't necessarily the person who set it off, it's the person responsible who's hosting that party. The other thing is fire flow and hydrant distribution. We updated the fire flow tables for hydrant spacing, which includes fire hydrant placement within 200 feet of fire trail access points. Again, these would only be if a new subdivision is being built or a new construction site or a land development is being reviewed with the new construction site. And these changes would go in effect on January 1 with the adoption of the new fire code if these amendments are approved this evening. So I'm happy to answer any questions related to the amendments with the fire code.
If I may, Madam Mayor.
Yes,
So this is a public hearing.
this is a public hearing.
Yes, this is the public hearing for the fire code and the building code. So we want to just make sure that we open the public hearing and take public comment.
Okay, thank you. I don't have that. So I do want to open the public hearing. This is the second reading for 10.1. And so if there are any public comments on 10.1? No public comments?
Public comment cards.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Any questions for Chief Bachman? Yep. Councilmember Sakach?
Yeah, I just had a question about the eCore technology that businesses are required to upgrade to by December 31st, 2028. Is that retroactive or is that only for new business applications? Is there a fee involved with that?
So it's currently for any new business application that they're required to make that change. We are applying for grants. We actually were successful in receiving a grant for our entire jurisdiction, except for what we would call the central division. And that grant was for approximately $500,000. We've applied for a phase 2 grant through the fire prevention grant countywide to include our central area, which includes Pleasant Hill, Walnut Creek, and Concord. But we want to make sure that even if we don't receive a grant, that we still have a plan moving forward to make those eCore changes. Those eCore changes are roughly $100 for that eCore lock. It provides a lot more accountability and of the key. Every time it's opened, it's documented by not only which engine opened the key, but also which firefighter entered a PIN number to pull the key out. So it just provides a lot better accountability of that secure system. And but we do anticipate that we'll be able to receive grants, but it really strengthens that language for all those new businesses that are coming in right now, that they must implement that new eCore when they install their Knox box.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Yep, Vice Mayor Sess.
Thank you. Chief, it says here, this is 903-2-1-1, Group A1. It says the fire, there's a couple different conditions, and it says the fire area has an occupant load of 300 or more. Is load another word for people?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
I
Yeah.
have it, yeah.
Councilmember Obolensky?
So last time we were talking about fees for inspections. That was a main concern I had. And so I wanted to make sure I address this as one of the few members and elected officials who actually owns a business. I would ask you to please make sure to reach out to the different chambers of commerce to allow them to know all these changes. And then next time, proactively reach out to them as a stakeholder beforehand, because as a member of the Pleasant Hill Chamber and the Walnut Creek Chamber, I didn't know about this coming forward. So that would be my only comment to you, sir. Thank you.
Okay,
Additional comments?
all right. Since there's no public comment, I'll bring this back for a motion.
I will
Go
move.
ahead, go ahead and close the public hearing. if you
Oh,
will.
sorry, I'll have to close the public hearing. Thank you. Close the public hearing for this item, second reading.
I will move the item.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. May we have the roll call vote, please?
Law,
Yes.
Obolensky,
Yes.
Chess,
Yes.
Sockotch,
Yes.
Noack,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, we're going to go on to 10.2, which is to introduce the ordinance adding section 1405-090 to Title 14 of the Pleasant Hill Municipal Code and adopting the 2025 California Wildland Urban Interface Code with amendments. This also is a public hearing, but this is also the first,
No, this one is not a public hearing because it's just an
just the first
introduction.
reading.
I'm sorry,
Just the first reading?
just the first
Okay.
reading, just the introduction. We are doing this one again because there have been changes made to it.
Okay.
Substantive changes, not just clerical.
Okay. So this is, we did this the last time, but there's substantive changes since the last meeting when we took a look at this. So we're reintroducing it again for the first reading.
And if I may say, we're also calling a public hearing for the December 1st meeting because that will be the adoption of this one and we'll need a public hearing for that.
Thank you. Public hearing will be on December 1st. Chief Bachman?
Sure. So in the WUI code, I'll provide a staff update again and then go over the changes in the ordinance of the items that were added between this version and the version you saw last month. So on January 1, the proposal is the California Wildland Urban Interface Code will be adopted at the state level. This is new this year for California. One of the big takeaways is in the residential code previously, there was a section called the building construction piece for when you're required to do 7A construction if you're in the very high fire hazard severity zone or in the wildland urban interface. That portion was removed from the residential code and now exists in the wildland urban interface code. So it is to establish the minimum wildfire safety requirements for new construction and development if you're in the SRA or the LRA. For us, that's in the local responsibility area, which would be in the LRA within Pleasant Hill. And it identifies building resistance to flame, heat, and ember intrusion to reduce wildfire risk. We've identified that there's an area we would like to add, which is non-combustible fencing. I'll go over that here in just a moment and really to provide clarification from the language that we originally proposed. And so with this new ordinance, or with the existing ordinance that we proposed, but some additions, we added the addition and alteration definitions in 101.5. And then in section 202, we added the definitions of substantial addition, substantial alteration, to identify what that is. Those definitions exist in our fire code. Those definitions existed. I confirm with Jeff that those definitions existed in the residential code. So you need to provide clear direction on what is that benchmark when a remodel would constitute, we'll say, like new construction requirements. So we like to clearly identify by definition, when does that occur? So it's very clear when you have 50% of your roof and 50% of your walls are modified on a remodel, that remodel then kicks in the additional code requirements. When you're truly doing a small remodel and you're not touching your roof, or less than 50% of your roof and less than 50% of the walls in your house, then you're only required to do the code requirements on the portions that you're remodeling. So it is important to make sure that those definitions are also identified in the WUI code, because if you're in one of the high, or actually you don't have any very high, but if you're in the high fire hazard severity zone in Pleasant Hill, and you were to do a remodel or new construction, we want to make sure it's very clear on when the WUI code requirements for 7A construction would kick in versus when you're exempt from doing that. So we added those definitions. Those definitions are a cut and paste from our fire code and from the residential code that was previously adopted or currently in regulation now. The other thing we did was we cleaned up the definition for 508.3 of location. So originally let me read to you what the original version was. So the original version identified here that if you have a non-combustible, or if you are in the high or very high area, and you your fence must be non-combustible only on the perimeter fencing for a new construction subdivision of 30 or more homes. So in the original location, it said in new development of 30 or more dwelling units, all perimeter fencing and fencing separating individual lots shall comply with this section. So we had a lot of questions of, well, how I read that is every fence that's separating the lots, all lots, would be required to do that. We thought we were clear enough by then item 2 saying, where the fence abuts a wildland urban interface, any portion of the fence within 30 feet of a structure. But when the attorneys looked at it, they did identify that technically that could be interpreted as every lot separating, or every individual lot separate, the fences separating the lots could be required. And that's not our intent. So we changed that language to clean it up to say, in a new development of 30 or more dwelling units, all perimeter lots where any portion of the fence is located within 30 feet of the structure. So it would only be those perimeter lots of 30 or more homes in a new construction development. Only the perimeter lots would be required to have that non-combustible fencing if the fence is within 30 feet of the structures. And then we provide the exception. So we felt we cleaned that language up. The intent is not to do every single lot in the subdivision. It's only the perimeter lots that back up to the open space. And that's only if you're in the very high, which in Pleasant Hill is a very small section over on the west side of town, over by Release Valley and Taylor Boulevard.
Great, thank you. Any questions? No? No? Thank you for the clarification, and I'll see if there are any public comments.
There are no public comment cards.
Okay. Wonderful. Again, I'll say that we have a public hearing for this on December 1st. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can I have the roll call vote, please?
Law,
Yes.
Obolinski,
Yes.
Chess,
Yes.
Sockbach,
Yes.
Noack,
Yes,
motion carries.
thank you. All right, we'll move on to item 10.3, adopt ordinance amending in its entirety, chapter 14.05, sections 1405.010 through 14.05.04 of the Pleasant Hill Municipal Code. And Jeff Simmons, our chief, they have you here as the chief financial officer
Ooh,
on my notes.
I don't know if I could do that. No.
Chief building officer is going to provide the presentation.
And this, if I may, this is also a public hearing.
This is also a public hearing. Somebody's got to,
All right. So here we are, 2025 code cycle change and moving on from fire.
So I'm just going to say we're opening the public hearing. That's all right. I jumped the gun on that one.
And I'm jumping to. So, here we are with the rest of the 2025 codes. We talked about fire and the WUI. So there's pretty much all the rest of them. See the two asterisk ones are the one that fire just are introducing, but all those other ones are the ones that we cover at the building department here. So some samples of code changes. I know the chief went over quite a few with fire, but the wildlife urban interface is probably the biggest thing because that's a brand new section of code. There's new definitions in the building code, such as sleeping loss, substantial improvements. There's private residence elevators. Obviously, we're talking about aging in place and how people might want to have those in their homes now. And then we've got energy storage systems. We've got revisions to those. And then additional handrails for means of egress again, because we're all getting gimpier and older. So me included. So with that, we're actually going to start posting the code updates. They'll be posted on the city website in January. So we do have all the details, and then obviously people can come in and discuss those if needed. So with that, we're up for adopting the rest of the codes.
Okay. Any questions for Jeff? No, since it's the second time we've heard this?
And
No?
I will say, Andre, there's no additional fees.
No.
So
Okay. Is there any public comment?
There are no public comment.
No
cards.
public comment. Okay, I'll close public comment and bring back to the dais for any comments or motion. This is like flipping a coin. Who's going to? Oh, I have to close the public hearing. That's what you guys were waiting for, right? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Now I need a motion.
I will move that we approve the building code.
And I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. May I have the roll call vote, please?
I should read the
Law.
whole thing.
Yes.
Oglensky,
Yes.
Chess,
Yes.
Sockotch.
Yes.
Nowak,
Yes.
motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, Jeff. Okay, 10.4, adopt ordinance to amend the Pleasantville Municipal Code, Title 18, Planning and Land Use in its entirety and amend the zoning map to include the rezoning of 1,072 parcels throughout the city for consistency with the 2040 general plan and 2023 general plan 2023-2031. And Haley?
Yes.
Oh, you're already,
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, members of the City Council. Tonight is a second reading on our zoning ordinance update, as well as our zoning map amendment. So you may remember this update was before the council on October 20th. And at that meeting,
hold on. Okay, go ahead.
at that meeting, council reviewed the entire ordinance as well as the zoning map, and asked staff to include some additional language in the zoning ordinance specifically related to the development of newly zoned mixed-use parcels with existing single-family development. And so this language has been added here. It's up on the screen. This is added to part 2, which is our section related to mixed-use zoning districts and development standards. And so this language would preclude any new development in a mixed-use zone on a property that contains a single-family residence from having, it would require them to have exclusive access off either Contra Costa Boulevard, Gregory Lane, or Oak Park Boulevard, and they could not have any access off any of the internal facing residential streets. And so that language has been added as requested. There are no other changes, though, to the zoning map or to the ordinance. And so with that, staff tonight is recommending that the City Council accept the CEQA determination and adopt the ordinance with that additional language as proposed. And I'll just mention a couple next steps. If adopted, that ordinance and the zoning map become effective 30 days later, so December 17th. And then also as directed by council at our last meeting, staff will then be following up within the first 6 months of 2026 to seek direction on any potential future amendments. I'm here if you have any questions.
Great, thank you, Haley. Appreciate that. I'm glad you put the next steps in because I think that's important for most everybody here to understand that we will be taking a look at the zoning maps and considering any potential future amendment to those in the first 6 months of the year. Any questions, other questions for Haley? Yeah, Councilmember Sakach.
This is more a question for Janet, but I think it relates to zoning because I know Mr. Martin's document request is related to rezoning. And I was just wondering if Janet could explain the reason for the fees for the
Sure.
electronic records.
Sure, I'd be happy to. In the fee schedule, in the council approved fee schedule, there are 2 fees, one for paper copies under the Public Records Act and one for electronic copies. And this is the result of, excuse me, this is the result of a calculation that was done a number of years ago. They are old, they may not be completely up to date. They would only have increased in cost, but we've still left them at the 10 cents and the 8 cents per page cost. Mr. Martin was correct when he stated that it does not include the cost of staff to research, go through records, pull out the relevant ones, review them, collate them, do anything at all with them. It does not include that. It is limited to, and this is by case law, North County Parents, and it's also been codified after that case, because that case is several years old. It is called the direct cost of duplication. And the direct cost of duplication has been found through case law again to be the actual cost to make the copy. So for example, in a paper copy, it is the depreciation on the copy machine. It is the electricity. It is the paper. It is the ink. And most importantly, probably the most expensive part of any of this is the cost of the person standing at the machine, either putting it on the glass, closing the thing, hitting the button, taking it off. It is the cost of that employee making that copy. So the direct cost of duplication includes that. When we move to electronics records, there are many ways of providing those, and that has also changed over time. It could be that it's a paper copy that has to be scanned in and then manipulated via the computer and then sent to the individual. Here, again, it could also be already an electronic record. It maybe needs to be put on some sort of a drive. It may need to just be sent directly. It really depends on what it is, how big it is, and how many records. Maybe they need to be grouped and cut into specific groups, small groups, because you can't send everything all at once necessarily. But the direct cost of duplication here includes the computer, the electricity again, but most importantly, the cost of the person operating that computer to send those records, to pull them in, gather them together, and send them off. Again, not the cost of reviewing them, not the cost of searching for them, not any of those costs. But this has been calculated out and it has been put in the city's fee schedule. And so I'm happy to have any further conversations with Mr. Martin if he would like to, but that is strictly in conformance with the law.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for Haley? No? Okay. We'll go to public comment. We have no public comment? Oh, I have to open the public hearing for that? Yes.
That's
No.
fine. No.
When anyone's telling me I have to open a public hearing, I thought, well,
That's okay.
okay. All right. Oop, I gotta go to these first. First, Albert Franco.
Good evening, all neighbors, council. It's nice to vote for the second one to get things moving. It has to be, but I'm against rezoning or the houses should not ever be messed with to create retail just for taxes purposes. And and I think there's other things we could do in this community, and amendments are coming according to this board we just read, supposedly, and I hope they do for the betterment of the people that has had families there for 6 generations and their homes, and they like the life of Pleasant Hill. And it is definitely going to change after all the retail goes up and down Contra Costa. We're going to be like Monument. We're going to be like Walnut Creek. We're already above for property crime anyway, the national average, I think almost by 20%. And it's just going to get worse because you got about 4 in and outs on the freeways. The people that don't live here come and do their crimes. And I just want the future to be for whoever comes behind me. I've been here my whole life, almost 70 years, that they have the kind of great life I had and people I know in this room and my family members. You know, by 2040, excuse me, I'll probably be dust. I sure hope Pleasant Hill stays Pleasant Hill. And I know everybody's trying, you know, we're all trying to figure it out. And it's a great community right now, and we're going to have some changes going on that I'll never understand it. But anyway, peace all. Have a good time.
Next up is George Josephson.
Hello, my name is George, West Sherman Acres, District 2. I would just like to come up here and express my support for the zoning, mixed-use zoning of my neighborhood. In talking to the planning department, I've come to learn that we have multiple avenues of developing our properties now, or just leaving them single family if we like. We can go the ADU route, or we can go the mixed use route, which increases the density by 2. There are strict parking requirements, which make it a little bit more difficult. But I like the fact that our neighborhood, we're in a very unique position. I think we're the only neighborhood in Pleasant Hill that has this distinction to be able to go in different directions of developing our own lots. And I'm very happy that we are allowed as individuals to be able to develop our lots, not just the big developers or the medium-sized developers. It's in our hands also. So I'm in support of the mixed-use zoning. I think it's a great thing. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, Matt Regan.
Mayor Nowak, City Council members, good evening. My name's Matt Regan. I'm a 20-plus year resident homeowner in Pleasant Hill, raised a family here, and I'm here tonight to advocate for the next generation, of potential Pleasant Hill residents, that they have the same opportunity that I had. I took my daughter to college in the East Coast a couple of months ago, and I'm really worried she won't come back because there will be nowhere for her to live. I asked my friend ChatGPT this morning to do a quick analysis of all of the negative ramifications that cities in California will face if they do not have a certified housing element. It's 7 pages, but I'll hit the highlights. First one, builder's remedy. Builder's remedy is probably the most famous. If a city doesn't have a certified housing element, a developer can come into that city and ignore zoning completely and select parcels for development, provided they meet certain affordability requirements. They can develop as high and as large as they want, and the city has no discretion. That's the first one. Housing Accountability Act. The state can impose financial and discretionary review ramifications on cities that don't have an approved housing element. They can take away this city's discretionary rights over project approval. Next one. The oversight and enforcement powers. So if a city doesn't have an approved housing element, the state can refer the city to the Attorney General for legal enforcement. It can require rezoning or corrective actions. It can suspend the city's eligibility for state funds. These are not hollow or empty threats. There are a number of cities that have already faced this: Huntington Beach, Norwalk, others. Loss of funding eligibility for housing programs, for law enforcement, for transit, for infill grants. and the loss of pro-housing designations, there's a dozen different ramifications, all of which come with severe financial penalties if we do not have an approved housing element. So I urge the City Council to approve this housing element as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. Amanda Booth?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I want to begin by saying that I appreciate the council's stated willingness in the October meeting to open the general plan. That acknowledgement mattered. But I also want to be clear that simply referencing the reopening the general plan is not enough. The community needs action, not just intent. I remain deeply disappointed in the decisions made in the October and moving forward to pass the rezoning ordinance map, despite continued, broad, repeated, and well-documented community concern. Many of us feel that our neighborhoods and our trust in this community were put at risk by that decision, and that disappointment has not faded. If the council truly intends to rebuild trust, as was promised, then we need concrete steps. Tonight, I'm asking the council to direct staff to return in December with a clear timeline, a schedule for community meetings, and a detailed plan and process for opening the general plan. Without a timeline and without structured plan for this engagement, the commitment made in October will remain only words. Additionally, I would like to encourage all council members to follow the example set by council members Law and Obolinski, who have already held community forums. These opportunities to listen to residents directly are invaluable. Every member of this body should be creating space to hear the concerns and ideas and the lived experiences of those affected by this rezoning. If these steps are not taken, the promises made in October will mean nothing. If you follow through clearly, transparently, and promptly, there's a real opportunity to begin to rebuild the trust and working towards solutions that respect both the state requirements, the people who call Pleasant Hill home, and potentially even addressing some of the fiscal issues that the city has. I appreciate this tonight, and I hope that you were willing to move forward with more community engagement.
Aiden Martin? Oh, switching babysitters. That's all right.
Good evening again, council members. Many residents are concerned about the growing loss of trust in our local government. Actions such as limited public noticing on proposed mass rezoning, restricted comment time in October, and no public comment on November 3rd have deepened that concern. Pleasant Hill needs transparency and collaboration. I urge you to re-engage the community by establishing a clear timeline to reopen the general plan process and responding promptly to the public records request. We are not opposed to addressing housing needs, but the process must respect neighborhood character and include genuine public input. We also need an open discussion about the city's financial challenges. Pleasant Hill's engaged community is an asset. Let's work together to rebuild trust and create solutions that serve everyone. I'd just like to address the previous comments by the city attorney. I want you to note that under the fee schedule, the document scanning fee is listed under photocopies and scanning. There is no reference to electronic documents in that fee schedule specifically. There is a documents saved to CD or flash drive line item in the fee schedule, and that is listed at actual cost. So thank you for listening to me tonight.
Thank you. Okay, now I have the Julian Way group. I don't know if there's any specific order you want to go in, but I have Madhu Amasur first. Oh, okay. Who's going first?
My name is Tom Vitale, and we appreciate the City Council's willingness to reconsider the rezoning map of specific parcels in the general plan. I want to illustrate further the impact on our neighborhood and community. Please, you should have this copy. The rezoning scenario B. All right. As you can see, The existing homes on Julian Way are internal facing. Front yards and driveways face each other. If the frontages of the affected parcels are reversed, homes currently facing front yards of our neighbors across the street will be facing the back wall of a commercial building or housing unit, or even a cement wall. The rezoning of internally facing single-family homes in a close-knit, well-developed community represents a decision that we don't believe has been properly vetted. We respectfully suggest amending the zoning map to eliminate mixed zoning of the Julian Woods residential parcels that face one another. Mr. Obolensky purports to be pro-development. My neighborhood is pro-community.
Okay, thank you. Who's next? I assume they've got some order. And you are,
Hi, my name is Alaric Toy.
okay,
All right. Hello, thank you, City Council members, for having us. Thank you for listening to our concerns during the October 20th City Council meeting. While I wish you had notified the affected homes and adjacent homes by mail on official city letterhead, so that all this could be addressed and discussed 2 years ago, we do appreciate your promise to review and amend the general plan and zoning ordinance shortly after whatever happens tonight. So like all of you, we agree that the vision of the general plan, that we do need more housing and commercial development in the city. However, the zoning still needs to make sense. I think we can all agree that there is some discretion in determining exactly where multifamily and commercial buildings should be zoned. With so many parcels and corridors and neighborhoods throughout the city, it's not easy to figure out exactly which parcel should be zoned, so we understand that. In the specific case of Julian Way, I believe that the consultant and the city failed to evaluate what happens when you take the homes with a front yard and a small residential street and a backyard on Gregory Lane. So as Tom Vitale pointed out, this is what it looks like. So worst case scenario, even with the amendment, it's just a suggestion, a guideline for building and development. So our neighbors across the street on here in the green, best case scenario, they just face a chain link fence in which they see garbage trucks come in and out through the neighborhood 2 to 3 times a week. And what is to say, and how can you force any garbage trucks that will use the private street on Julian Way? Will it be that we have to maintain the torn up streets that will not hold up any big heavy duty trucks in development? Will the city make an amendment to that? It will be able to enforce that? What legal remedies would the home organization have to remedy that situation? Thank you.
next up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for listening to us, Mayor and City Council members. I've been a resident of Pleasant Hill for over 30 years with children that have grown up in the school. I'm in the position now to have grandchildren that can grow up in the house and the neighborhood that my kids have grown up in, and I'm concerned about their safety. Pleasant Hill is a very small community with residential housing in there, and we are all very much in favor of the mixed housing. But there are designated areas that could be used in Pleasant Hill, very close to the vicinity that we're in. In the case of Julian Way, we believe that the consultant and the city staff have failed to evaluate what happens when you take these homes and put the front yard into a small residential street and a background of the Gregory Lane, and then replace them with the homes of the commercial buildings. Where we are, within a block away from us, there is 401 Gregory, which has a commercial property there. And in that commercial property, it's already got the parking lots, already got the garbage and everything that needs to be used for the mixed housing project. There's Mangini Farms, there's Black Angus, there's parcels on Contra Costa Boulevard. But to destroy that little area there and build up on it, there's a huge concern about the safety in there. There's 3 schools in that vicinity where people go walking, the kids go walking in there. So we would definitely appreciate that you could please reassess the situation about the safety and help us out on that.
Okay, thank you. I've got Vicky, Gordon, Christine, and Melissa still to go.
I'm Christine Will. Thank you.
You can lower the whole dais, the whole platform. Little button.
It's fine. I think I'm fine.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Can you please put the graphic up on the screen, or?
I don't know if we have that.
Yeah, could you put
We
it?
all have it in
You
front
don't
of us, though.
have it. Okay. Well, please look at the graphic that's in front of you. The space between Gregory Lane and Julian Way is not a block. It's only one parcel deep. In addition to the homes on Julian Way, we are parallel to Gregory Lane. This means that if any of the 6 homes get developed as a commercial building, then the front lawns that currently face each other will instead be front lawns facing the backs of commercial buildings or apartment buildings. Imagine the current row of homes and then a commercial building being placed right between them. These homes are being treated like they front onto Gregory Lane, but they do not. Reversing their frontage and placing the rear of a commercial building in between the fronts of single-family homes is completely inappropriate and defies common sense. Imagine the front yard of the houses across the street from you being replaced with the back of a commercial building. We're not opposed to appropriate multifamily and commercial development on Gregory Lane and elsewhere in the city, but this should not occur when the rear of the building will face the front yard of a single-family home on a small residential street. And it is a private street, and it's part of an HOA. There are many sites and areas throughout the city where mixed use can occur. In fact, Madhu mentioned 401 Gregory Lane, which is directly behind us, and has a big surface parking lot and is right at the intersection of Gregory Lane and Cars, so directly adjacent to Julian Woods. It's zoned for professional use. This could be rezoned for neighborhood business mixed use. That would still allow the existing office use plus other retail and housing. Additionally, the former Black Angus site right off the 680 would be perfect for multifamily housing. It's undeveloped and has a sign on the site that says the hotel project is not happening and the property is up for sale. And what about 140 Gregory Lane? How is that zoned? We can find the PUD zoning for this property, and this is a perfect candidate, or we cannot find the PUD zoning. This is a perfect candidate for mixed-use development.
Thank you. Vicky, Gordon, or Melissa? Yeah.
Good evening, council members. I appreciate being here. I have 3 items. One item is I want to express my sincere thanks to Mayor Nowak and the council for allowing the subject to be re-examined next year, because there's, as you can tell, serious concern with some of the aspects of this, and we're very appreciative to have the opportunity to have input on the next round of discussion on this. The second one is back to Julian Woods. Julian Woods, the 6 homes which were being rezoned to mixed use are clearly not an appropriate choice. Whoever made that decision, I think, missed an actual on-site visit to recognize that it is the backs of the homes that they are trying to rezone and not the fronts of the homes. And it makes absolutely no sense in the reality and the setup of that subdivision. And the third one was there seemed to be some misunderstanding as to how good the communication was on the first round, because it was strongly implied that people intentionally didn't pay attention to what was going on when it was, I think, plainly expressed that they were taken aback, that they were blindsided completely by this activity. And I would like to strongly recommend that in the next iteration, that we address our changes directly to the homes that are being rezoned by address by mail, so that there's absolutely no doubt that they have been informed as to what is going on. Again, thank you for the reconsideration next year, and I'm done.
Thank you. Okay, I've got Vicky and Melissa. No? Okay. No, I have a Melissa Mayama. No, you're not speaking. Okay, all right. Okay, then I have one last card, Deanna Rabach.
Yeah, it's Dina Rabach, and I'm a resident and homeowner in the Sherman Acres area. I've spoken before. Thank you again for reconsidering the rezoning. Looking forward to understanding what that's going to entail in the next 6 months. Again, just strongly opposing the proposed rezoning in our neighborhood to the mixed use multifamily. I know I wasn't planning on speaking today, but I heard 2 people in favor of this, and I just want to make sure that people understand that I think today, if you're a homeowner, you can pretty much do what you want. I think we've talked about you can build an ADU if you want, things of that nature, that you can do that today. But I think what people need to realize is this is a neighborhood, this is a community. My kids play in that neighborhood. We bought in that area so that they can grow up, play in the front street and not live next to a building that is 4 stories high and has foot traffic and cars driving through it to get to a commercial building underneath. So I think it's just important to remember, I understand housing is required, it's mandated. I just think we need, and I'm hopeful that we will find a solve that meets all of our needs. I think it's just important to remember there are families that have lived there. I heard a man say 6, 7 generations in Pleasant Hill. So I was in Walnut Creek this week and just looking at all the buildings thinking this is going to be the future of Pleasant Hill. My daughter, I have twins, they're 13 years old. My daughter does cheer at College Park. They're in 8th grade. It took me 20 minutes to get to College Park and I live 5 miles away. So, again, traffic, everything. I know we need to solve for that and I understand the housing mandate. I just want us to be thoughtful in the decisions that we're making for the community. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I will close public comment if there's no additional public comment and bring it back to the council for discussion. I'm just going to make a couple of comments first we're not actually going to reopen the general plan, right? We're going to take a look at those the zoning and take a look and see if there's amendments to be made next year. That was what was directed to staff at the last council meeting. So I just wanted to clarify that. It is a little bit more complicated than people think because there's a number of things in the housing element. We have to make sure we adhere to programs, projects, some numbers in the various areas. We can't have a no net loss, so we can't lose units. There's a number of factors that we have to look into besides just straight rezoning. So that's why I asked for 6 months, because there are a number of things that we have to look at in doing any of this and what might be required, and an impact on the EIR as well that's attached to the general plan and housing element. So I just want to let everybody know that this is a little bit more complicated process than what it appears to be for you all. But, I believe, as we said 2 meetings ago, we are committed to look at this in the first 6 months of the year, but we have to take a look at a number of those things to figure out what can and cannot be done and where the numbers all are. So, but we will get back to people as soon as possible and let them know what the schedule and what the timing is and what we're going to be doing. Any additional comments or questions? No? No?
Questions or comments?
You can do either. Because we already did public comment, so we can do.
Comment.
Okay?
I have a comment.
Sure.
You want to go? You go first.
Well, I guess this might be a question just for planning staff to clarify is, I think there's still some confusion about the rezoning and how it relates to the RENA numbers. And my understanding is that this is basically, or one of the reasons is due to implementation strategy F is in Frank. And that reads, in order to promote housing mobility and increasing housing choices and affordability in racially concentrated areas of affluence, the city shall redesignate and rezone land in RCAAs. So my question is, what is an RCAA, and how do these relate to the history of racial covenants in Pleasant Hill? And does this restrict the area that we can rezone within Pleasant Hill?
Councilmember Sakash, a couple of the responses to your question. Just historically, I think the history of Pleasant Hill, there were certain restrictions for single-family areas of the city where only certain races were allowed to own properties in there. So that's kind of I guess, the beginnings, if you will. And so what this program that you just read off talks about, essentially allowing more diverse types of homeowners throughout the city. And this is a provision of the state of California in general. So it's not just specific to our city. I don't want anyone to think that we were being singled out. The general, I guess, guidance from the state is to essentially allow more diverse types of housing opportunities, housing options. And when I say diverse, it's not necessarily only related to race. It's also related to the types of housing that are in there, the affordability levels, the type of housing that's there that may be more geared towards certain populations than others. And so part of what our housing element noted was to support that diversification is to look at rezoning in areas that traditionally have not accommodated these types of housing opportunities to provide more housing opportunities throughout the city. Related to Reno, I mean, this rezoning that we are doing is not a direct impact to our RENA number. However, it is a program in our housing element, and it's a program that was highlighted by the state to ensure that we comply with this because of all the reasons that I just said, as it provides additional opportunities, particularly diversity. And so while it may not necessarily directly relate to our RENA, it is a program that is being tracked by the state of California. And when we report back, we would like to say that we are still in compliance with our housing element that we promised to do when they certified our housing element back in 2023. So is that a conflict with our housing element? Well, if we're not complying with our promise to do this rezoning, one could reasonably argue that we're not consistent or not following our certified housing element.
Thank you. Yeah, and I do appreciate the fact that a number of speakers said they are interested in housing. I do want to point out that we do have a housing crisis across the state and in Pleasant Hill, that home prices have increased 116% in the last 10 years and rents have increased 55%. We have about 15% of our population, which is cost burden, which means they spend between 30 to 50% of their income on housing, and another 15% are severely cost burden, which means they spend the majority of their income on housing costs. So I know someone made the comment, we hope Pleasant Hill stays Pleasant Hill. Well, if people can't afford to live in Pleasant Hill will not stay Pleasant Hill. So I think it is important that we find new types of housing other than single family homes. I do hear what folks are saying about they weren't notified, and I'm happy to have the conversation about what are some other areas we can look at. One person said though that we need to rezone an area that makes everybody happy. And I hope that we can do that. I'd love to do that, but I'm skeptical that we can do that. We're going to have to rezone somewhere. I don't think there's anywhere that'll meet both state requirements and will be accepted by everyone. I'm sure the people, for example, living behind the office building that folks referenced might have an opinion about that being, 3 or 4 stories. But I'm going to vote yes to approve the comprehensive zoning amendment, and I look forward to having a robust discussion with all interested residents regarding amending the general plan and finding alternatives to the current areas to be rezoned. I do think it's important to vote again yes to make sure we do not get penalties from the state or lawsuits for not meeting state deadlines. Thanks.
Okay. Vice Mayor, do you want to go next?
Sure, thank you. I first of all wanted to thank everybody here in the room and whoever's listening, and not only from this meeting but the previous meeting, again, for making their voices known. And I think that there might be some change in how we communicate, to residents going forward coming out of that. And I think that is a positive. That being said, the city did go, and there were a lot of people that worked on the general plan, and I want to acknowledge them as well. There were a lot of people that worked on that general plan and spent many years on it. There was a lot of community input. The zoning, as we're here now, is to match all that, right? And so that's it. Yes, I know for you in the audience, and I'm sure if I wasn't pouring through all this stuff over the last months, I would wonder. It seems counterintuitive, right? To approve something and then go fix it. Why can't you fix it first? And so here's where it gets sticky, is that we have this housing element, and we have to be able to have zoning to match it in an appropriate amount of time. So here's what a yes vote is. A yes vote gets us that. What it does is it also, as we've discussed, it affords us the opportunity to go back and look at this, not in a broad sense, but look at some of the areas where, hey, maybe we can make some changes. This can be done. We're going to do this. We're going to look at this in the first 6 months, but this is something I want to point out that we could be doing for a while, potentially, because these things take time, right? And what this does is it gives us an opportunity to not only look at some areas, but it also gives the people the ability, now that we have a certified housing element, we're able to create more diverse housing, which I'm hearing from our constituents is what everybody wants, right? I've heard it, and so I believe that gets us to where we want to be as a city. We want to have growth. We want to have some control over that growth. Here's what a no vote gets you. A no vote subjects us to litigation, right? It's probably slows this whole process down, and we will probably, chances are we're going to get sued, which to me is a tremendous waste of staff resources and your taxpayer dollars, right? And so why do we want to do that if we have the ability to ratify this tonight, approve this tonight, and go back and look at what are some areas that we can modify, right? So I just want to point out the difference, what a yes vote is in my mind and what a no vote is. And so I don't want to, if you're looking at me going, looking at the dais saying, a yes vote doesn't mean that you're not listening to us. Nothing could be further from the truth. I really, nothing could be we are listening. And I think there is I think the willingness to go back and look at this and engage staff and spend money shows that we are listening, and you're to be commended for pointing this out and for your passion. So I thank you for that. But I just want to be very clear what I think a yes vote is and what I think a no vote is. Thank you.
Thank you. You want to go next?
Thank you, Mayor Nowak. First, I wanted to really take a moment to thank my neighbors for coming out to a meeting and having an engaging conversation about all these different laws and different aspects that my my colleagues have talked about. So I won't get into too much detail, but it was a lot of question and answers, and we'll continue to have those meetings. We'll continue to have those question and answer sessions. But it was really, I really thanked everyone for having an open mind and understanding, where the city, the position that the city is in, with all the different laws. But also, we're in the holiday season right now, and I wanted to bring up a couple stories, real short ones, I promise. So on Wednesday, I'll be having a phone call with a young man who lives in Colorado, and his sister lives in Colorado, and their parents live here in Pleasant Hill. They had to leave because they couldn't afford to live here. And their parents are struggling right now. They're having challenges. One is having some medical issues, and I'm having to help them bridge that conversation to help them sell off some things and to help them prepare for moving to Colorado, because they have to move to Colorado to be near their children, where their children wish they could have just stayed here. Today, I had a customer come in to see me, an older couple, and their son is now taking care of their affairs. They have 3 children. One lives in Colorado, one lives in Virginia, and the other lives in Iowa. They're here alone in their 80s, and they're figuring out where they're going to have to move because all 3 of their children had to leave. And then there's my story. My mom lives in central Kansas because she could not afford to stay here anymore. Because my stepfather worked for United Airlines, and when they went bankrupt, lost his pension and lost his health care. So my kids don't get to see their grandma for Christmas. These are real people, and these are just 3 stories and not other stories throughout our community. It is very expensive to live here, and we're tasked with finding a solution to keep Pleasant Hill the community it is, and at the same time bring more affordable housing options. That's what the state has tasked us to do. So I thank again my neighbors, and I thank all of you for understanding. And sometimes we live in our personal bubble, and sometimes we have to get out of that personal bubble. I just challenge everyone to get out of your personal bubble and understand that there's a lot of folks struggling. Thank you.
Councilmember Law.
After hearing some comments, I'd end up having some questions for staff, actually. Is that, this is an opportunity for me to ask some questions? Okay, thank you. So for the specific mixed use and commercial spaces, let's just say if a commercial space that is zoned and considered as mixed use, would you still be able to build upon that mixed use zone as a commercial space? First question.
Sorry.
So if
I
a
just wanna
commercial
clarify.
space,
It's a commercial building right now.
if it's zoned as commercial,
It's zoned as commercial, not mixed use.
not mixed use,
Okay.
questions?
And so I'm just trying to
Okay,
understand
yeah.
the question.
Yeah, no worries, Sue.
So I know the answer
Mayor,
when I
yeah.
hear the answer.
So currently, a commercial zone space, if we were to change that to mixed use, can that commercial space be vice versa? Can it be commercial use designation thereafter, after you change the land use designation for that?
If I understand your question correctly, if it's a commercial use, zone commercial, gets rezoned to mixed use,
That's correct.
that commercial use can stay, assuming it's a use that is, an approved use classification. It could stay within the mixed use zoning district.
Okay, thank you for that. So I asked that question just because I've heard from the community as well about underutilized spaces, underutilized commercial spaces that actually have been vacant for quite some time. And so, in looking at that, and also most recently, we had the budget committee meeting where Fairs and Pairs presented on some information indicating that they took traffic study from CCTA, which is the Contra Costa Transportation Authority, as well as looking at City of Pleasant Hills 2031 housing element and Plan Bay Area 2050. So echoing what my council members here are saying, my colleagues, is that we are going to grow. The projection shows that in 2035, our population will grow at least to 45,000 based on the information that they have right now. And so with that being said, how do we help provide housing that is affordable for future generations? Or how do we not displace people who are here who are currently living here, seniors who have to downsize, families who want to stay here and raise their children. I've raised my 3 boys here. And so when I look at this, it is a very tough decision, and there are so many things that, you know, come into play. I appreciate the fact that my colleagues here have also brought up that we will be looking at the general plan amendment, at least it's specific in zoning. And I think that that's really important because as I look at this, you know, to share with the community, I found that there were gaps, right? Just reiterating again, as what I had said already in the past, is that, you know, some of the areas make sense where we're rezoning, right? You know, keeping our green spaces, our community spaces, and then things that are inconsistent with our zoning map, which is current, and we're rezoning it so that it makes sense and it is the right land use designation. That makes sense to me. However, I'm not certain that we've evaluated all the spaces, right? And the underutilized commercial spaces, as I've mentioned here. And also single-family homes too. That's a second question that is in between my comment for the planner as well, is for a single-family home, have we thought about 2-family designations on there aside from what it currently allows for, which is a lot split, JADU and ADU for that zone? So maybe Troy or Haley can answer that question for me.
Are you asking if we have considered
R2 zoning for single-family homes? So height, size, designation, you know, setbacks, like other opportunities rather than mixed use for specific areas.
So because of state law and SB 9 specifically, either a lot split or 2-unit development, those can occur in any single family zone. And so the city has that in place. It's state law. And so we have, you know, we do have that option. That applies to single family zones though specifically.
So does that also allow for like duplexes, higher density? Do we have height limits on that? Or is it just slot splits?
So any development of either a lot split or an SB 9 project does have to comply generally with the development standards of the zone. There are some areas where the law allows like reduced setbacks, for example, similar to ADUs. And so that's all clearly stated in the law. And so it wouldn't allow more than, for example, 4 dwelling units on a single family property. So there are some limits to density, but that is an option currently.
Well, thank you for that too. I appreciate that. And so as I look at this again, you know, it's a tough decision. I do think that what I had said on October 20th, I do agree with the fact that there were gaps. I still do see that we should have actually had more community input. I want to make sure that the community understands that, you know, I'm not trying to put the city in any situation where we are trying to be litigated, especially with my colleagues here, so that you guys understand. But there is also an opportunity for no net loss, and our housing certification has already been approved. And with that being said, the time frame for after this hearing, there's also, at least from my understanding, it takes about another 30 days. Is that correct?
Or
before it gets actually as
December
law.
17th is the date that it becomes active.
That's the date that it becomes effective, right?
30 days from today,
30
if it were
days
to be
from today.
adopted.
So what I heard at the last meeting was that we had to meet the deadline by November 23rd. So if this hearing is now, and we're approving it now, then wouldn't that mean that we wouldn't have met the deadline by December 17th?
No, the adoption is enough.
The adoption is enough. Okay, thank you, Janet. I appreciate that. So going back to hearing from the community, reviewing the documents, looking at the most recent information that we've also received from the Budget Committee, from a study that was made from Fairs and Pairs about our population growth. I am not against affordable housing. I'm not against the fact that we need to build more housing. I do think that we do need to revisit our general plan and the housing element. And I mean, I look to my colleagues as to where we will work on that component in the next 6 months. But again, I still stand with not approving the current plan.
Okay, so I will just go last, I guess, unless people have comments after the fact. I first want to make a statement. We, and there are a couple of people out in the audience that participated in this, we spent 4 years on the general plan and there were hundreds and hundreds of people involved. So it wasn't for lack of community input. You all may not have been able to attend for whatever reason, but there was a lot of community input on the general plan. And so, and there was we had hundreds of people here on the housing element a couple of times. And so the housing, first of all, let me remind people that there are 9 housing opportunity sites that none of you are affected by the housing opportunity sites. And those are designated as part of the 1,803 units that we were required to zone for, plus a 20% cushion. So there's 2,000 units that had to be planned for. Now they're at DVC parking lot, they're at corner of Monument and CCB, and there are a number of them. There are 9, but those are multifamily units, and there are some that are designated for affordable housing. So that you didn't even see in the zoning, because those were all done January 23. We had to do those within 90 days of approving our housing element. We had to rezone all the housing opportunity sites. So we did that. The zoning that we've been talking about is the zoning that addresses what Amanda was talking about the programmatic changes allowing for a mixture of houses and housing types within the community. So I just wanted to make that comment. There are sites. The Black Angus site is being sold with its entitlements as a hotel, and that's why there are no housing option. There's no housing developers because the people that own that have a hotel entitlements, and so they're trying to sell that with those entitlements attached. So I just want to be clear. They at some point may change their mind and be willing to sell the land as raw land, but right now they're selling it with entitlements. So I wanted to make sure people understood that piece as well. There's a lot of complicating factors in this. There are other places to build potentially in the city, but realize that if we take another single family home area and rezone it mixed use, we're going to get responses as well, right? So we've got to look at this really carefully on how we can make amendments to the zoning to address some of the concerns that you all have, but not create other ones at the same time, right? So we're going to get public input and take a look at the zoning and see what we can do and try to address all your concerns. I just want to be honest about the whole process and what this involves, since I'm the only council member that sat through all the general plan housing element meetings. So I just want you to understand it's not quite as simple as you think, but we're going to work through it. We're going to start, probably not going to start during the holiday season. We'll probably start in the new year, taking a look at how we can do this and how we can do it in the best way to keep people informed and take a look at it in a serious way. Also keep our housing certification. Even though it's been approved, it can be taken away. It's not just approved and you don't have to worry about it for 8 years. You have to keep the state notified as to what you're doing, how you're complying. We have to give regular updates. They can take that away if you're not complying. So I want to be clear about that. That is not a one-time approval and you're done. That's an ongoing process. So anyway, we are going to take a look at this in the first 6 months. We have all indicated our desire to do that. We have directed staff, as you saw on the PowerPoint, and keep a lookout in January and February for information about how we're going to do this and how we're going to take a look at it. And then feel free to contact any of us. All our emails are on the city website. Some of you know me personally. You can pick up the phone and call me. But contact us if you have questions or wonder what's going on. Please do that. All right. So with that, I will look for a motion.
So moved.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Can we have the roll call vote, please?
Law,
No.
Obelinski,
Yes.
Chess.
Yes.
Sockotch.
Yes.
Noack,
Yes,
motion carries.
thank you. Okay, and have anything else on the calendar? I think that's it. So we are, there being no further business, this meeting is adjourned to our regular city council meeting scheduled for Monday, December 1st, 2025. Thank you and good night.